Well, I think the best way is to reduce conflict and to introduce democracy. Because look, all the countries that are truly democratic do not really seek for atomic bombs. And even the chances of proliferations in them are minimal. The chances of even what you might say fundamentalism or something are minimal. I mean, take for example the conflict that happened between the Arabs and Israel has caused Israel to have a bomb. The conflict between India and Pakistan has caused both countries to have a bomb. The conflicts between South Africa and Namibia has caused South Africa to have a bomb. I think if you can minimize the conflict and if you can introduce democracy into the war, you will see that then you can proliferate nuclear energy without the need to proliferate nuclear weapons. So really, it is almost impossible from my experience that you could stop people trying to circumvent the things, because whatever you make people, from my experience, because I was able to get away with murder, and why I don't think I am the most intelligent of all the people who can seek these technologies, and why can't others? No, I believe in God, and I believe by fate is decided, so I don't really mind. I think I did the right thing. We have our own uranium mines. We have two. We have pitch blende, 0.71%, and we have which we made the yellow cake from, and we also have 200 ppm from phosphate rocks. We had our own uranium, and we were producing hundreds of tons. We had all the operations for making fluorine, UF2, UF4, UF6, reduction processes, and making the UO2, making the yellow cake. We had all the processes made. We had a giant plant to produce yellow cake in the north of Iraq in Mosul. They have completely gotten the reactor option out, because they have really gotten, it was really a masterly hit. They hit the core of the reactor. Because there was no uranium in there, so there was no environmental consequence. Prior to the war of 2003, I saw an article in the Washington Post. It says the heading was 5 of the most wanted scientists in Iraq, and I was one of the 5. And they spoke a little bit slanted of the other 4, but when they came to me, they spoke well of me, and they said there's a respected scientist. And I said, so I looked the name of the person whom they have consulted. It was a Mr. David Albright, who was the first inspector whom I met after I was concealed from the inspectors. So I approached him, I talked to him. He's heading ICs, and I talked to him, and he made the arrangement with the Americans. And even after all this, and after all the cooperation, my house was bombarded, and the Americans came in, and they handcuffed me, and they took me to the airport, and I was brought the same day because they knew that I had cooperated. And then I was taken with my family outside Iraq.
So you and your whole family was taken out?
Not the whole family, core family. The whole family still my brothers and sisters and the whole family is in Baghdad. Oh, definitely. Always. Always love is a better motivation than fear. Always. In any religion, in any land. No, they were not related. Well, I think I'm talking mostly to scientists here, so I could be liberal to describe the case in scientific terms. I think whenever you want to make a difficult thing, you have to sort of pass it through a threshold energy. And once you get over the energy hump, you go to the steady state energy. Iraq is passing through a difficult ordeal and passing through an energy hump. That being the case, it might be a necessity of life. Of course, the experiment that the Americans have made was an uncontrolled experiment. If it was controlled, there wouldn't have been payments of men and money as much as now. Anyhow, I think Iraqis will pass through this phase, and I'm hoping that the best hope is to have democracy for Iraq and for the region. To develop weapons? Yes. Well, I mean, Iran is now developing weapons for this same reason. And if Iran succeeds in developing a weapon, that will open up an arms race. Already the Gulf states are speaking of making weapons. Not weapons, they are speaking of making a nuclear reactor. Turkey would be inclined to have one. Saudi Arabia would be inclined to have one. Egypt would be inclined to have one. So you are really opening up an arms race. People electing Hamas because this is a reaction. It's a reaction to a situation that is prevalent because of the conflict. If you get rid of the conflict, there would not be a call or a cause to elect Hamas or parties like Hamas. So first you have to get rid of the conflict. Oh yeah, he had the chemical weapons, and he had the biological weapons, and he had the rocketry. All they were going in parallel. Good question. I think the motivation for all scientists developing nuclear weapons, there are two basic motivations. One of them is the scientist. The scientist is task-oriented, and he loves his science. That's true everywhere. The second part is